Time to hit the road. Turn left.
And it's to that subject that I want to return now, but in a slightly different way than we normally do. The Prince of Wales is apparently nicknamed One Pint Willie because he's not the best of drinkers. That's according to his cousin, Mike, or cousin-in-law, Mike Tyndall, the former England rugby player. He was talking on a podcast, and he was asked what the couple...
Turn left.
Is about his wife, Zara. He was asked what the couple call each other and if they have any nicknames for other members of the royal family. And Mike Tyndall said this: "The Prince of Wales is known to me as One Pint Willie because he's not the best of drinkers." Now, he explained that he came from a sport built on the social aspect of a couple of beers being sunk quite often, probably more than a couple. He said, so that is one that I will definitely give away for the Prince of Wales. One Pint Willie is out there now. Sorry, sir. I don't think Prince William will see the funny side of this, because he will have to confront it, I'm sure, in the future. Now, if you think about your own drinking habits, what nickname would you give yourself? I'm looking at Corey now, and I'm thinking Lush. I can't think of a word to rhyme with Corey, but if I was using this for myself, bear in mind that I now don't drink at all, but in the days when I did,
Get ready to turn right.
Could be known as 2 vodkas Ian. There we are, 3 Campari's Corey, I've thought of one. 2 vodkas Ian, because basically after 2 vodkas, I was gone. I was hammered. I was the life and soul of the party until I started crying. And you'd think, being 6'2" and 16 stone, or possibly a bit more, that I could hold my drink. But no, my constitution doesn't allow me to. So that was part of the reason that I just decided I wasn't going to drink anymore, because I knew I couldn't hold my drink. It was nothing to do with being a potential alcoholic, because I never really liked the taste of most alcoholic drinks anyway. The only things I ever drank were vodka and orange and Pernod and blackcurrant, because I am from Essex. And that's it's the law in Essex that you have to drink Pernod and blackcurrant, particularly if you're in a nightclub dancing around a handbag. I mean, any nickname like that wouldn't have bothered me at all. But as somebody who now doesn't drink at all, I'm kind of almost made to feel ashamed of the fact that I don't drink, because we live in a society where alcohol is such a big part of it that if you don't drink, you're regarded as a little bit odd. Again, something I've never quite understood. Why is that? Why is there such a stigma about moderating the amount you drink, especially at this time of year? Does it somehow mean that you aren't macho if you don't have a drink? Now, obviously, that is directed at men, But I'm wondering whether it's becoming the same for women, that if you don't drink as a woman, there is a certain stigma attached to it in a way that there might not have been some years ago. And if you're a teetotaler, is Christmas a bit of a challenge because you come under a lot of peer pressure to have a drink? Oh, just have one, they say. And I can remember going out for drinks with producers at LBC, and they used to think it was really funny that they would try and ply me with drink. And they thought it was very fun. And I used to possibly order, this is going to lose me a lot of street cred here, not that I have a lot left anyway, a WKD Blue. Because to me that didn't taste like an alcoholic drink, it tasted like the cough mixture that I used to have as a child, and I quite liked that taste. But they thought it was hilarious that I was drinking alcohol and then would goad me to have another one. I can't remember the last time I got drunk, but it is a matter of pride now for people to go out and get drunk. Somebody I know said to me, and this is some time ago now, but said, I'm going out tonight to get bladdered. I thought, what an attitude. Why would you go out deliberately to get drunk? Is that the only way that you can enjoy an evening? To just fill yourself with as much alcohol as possible? So you become the life and soul of the party, then you don't, and then you're sick.
Keep left,
now, does that count as a good night out? It clearly does to some people, not just men either. I'm not meaning to sound judgmental here. But I do wonder why people who do not consume alcohol are almost made to feel guilty about it nowadays. 0345 6060 973. Well, Dr. Richard Piper joins me, Chief Executive of Alcohol Change UK. Richard, very good evening. Do you relate at all to what I've just been talking about?
I do very much. Good evening, Ian. I think what you've just been describing is something we call sober shaming, and that is the experience that people have when, as you say, they're ridiculed or interrogated or pressured when they choose not to drink. And it's a weird thing, because a lot of us in this society, in our society, believe in choice. We believe in individuals being free to choose, but we also find it quite challenging when someone in our circle decides not to drink. I think most of the you asked the why question about that, and I think that there hasn't been a lot of research on this. But what we do know is something to do with group dynamics. Right. It's if a group, particularly a group of people who have got maybe in their teens or 20s, have grown up together, and if drinking was an important part of that growth, that friendship, if one or two members of that group, and actually sobriety is becoming increasingly common actually, so if one or two members of that group suddenly say, I've stopped drinking by the way, the existing members of that group can actually feel quite threatened by that. So in a way it's a threat response. It doesn't mean it's good, it doesn't mean it's healthy, and I think we wouldn't look kindly on someone who was pushing heroin on each other. We wouldn't look kindly on someone pushing cigarettes on each other, and it's very rare, I think, for people saying, "What, you're not smoking? Why are you not smoking? What's wrong with you not smoking?" We should think in exactly the same way about drinking, and I would argue quite strongly, a good mate is someone that doesn't mind at all whether you're drinking or not, takes you for what you are, and treats you with respect. And I do think it is changing. I've experienced sober shaming quite extreme 3 or 4 years ago. That's definitely reduced, and we're having reports. Alcohol Change UK is a charity that exists. We're against alcohol harm, so we're not against alcohol at all. We're not even against drunkenness. We're only against alcohol harm. But we're having increasing reports of sober shaming starting to reduce, which is a really good thing.
Do you think public attitudes to drinking have changed over the last 20 years? And is there a real difference between male attitudes and female attitudes?
Great question. I think that the first thing to say is it's always changing. There's been moral panics about drunkenness for hundreds and hundreds of years, if not thousands of years. And there are periods of our history where we as a society have drunk more, periods when we've drunk less, and periods when what we drink has changed. Pre-Roman times, it was very beer. Roman times, low wine. And in the last 20 years, as you ask about, what we've seen is a particular trend towards drinking more at home, and what that means in most cases is that people tend to drink more. So So, you know, a £10 note doesn't get you that far. Doesn't get you that far
Keep
anyway
left,
nowadays. But
and
it
then
certainly doesn't
turn
get you that
left.
far in, say, a pub or a restaurant. But you can, you know, if you shop around, you can get 1, even 2 bottles
Turn
of wine
left.
for that. And so people tend to drink more when they're drinking at home. People have moved away from drinking a beer to drinking wine in general. There's still lots of beer consumed, but there has been a trend away from beer and towards wine. And there's been, over the last 20 years, a very significant trend of women drinking more and more, particularly from the 90s onwards. Originally kind of perceived, I think, by many women, and rightly and understandably so, as a sort of form of liberation. Well, if the men can do it, why can't we? But I think in recent years, understanding that, in fact, marketing tactics very much are targeting
Here
women.
we are. Safe and
Pink
sound.
gins, pinkification of alcohol is a really well-known kind of a marketing technique. And lots of women are finding themselves drinking way more than they really wish they would.
What, just because a drink is pink?
It's amazing. You know, each of us as individuals think we're not susceptible to marketing. But if you look at the amount of money that the alcohol industry spends on marketing, it must work. And it does work. So it does work at our subconscious level.
You have just solved a mystery to me. Because there was a sort of tonic watery type drink in the 80s and 90s called Russian, made by Schweppes, and they did a big advertising campaign, and it was like tonic water but pink, and didn't quite taste like tonic water, and it was specifically designed to have with vodka. And I used to love this, and I just used to drink it on its own, or with vodka. And then somebody told me the other day, I think they'd heard me talking about it on a podcast, and they said, oh no, they still make it, but they call it I can't remember the title now, but it's got the word pink in it. So you've just solved that puzzle for me as to why they've done it. It's just a marketing thing.
Yeah, it is a marketing thing. It's still the case, unfortunately, that men are drinking way more than women. It's still the case that it's a rough figure, but around 2 in 3 of all alcohol deaths are men. So this is, it's a very serious